Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
A very good morning and many thanks for joining us on today's edition of Political Spectrum. We're broadcasting live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Hello from me, I am Raymond Ita. Yeah, we're bringing you up to speed with all of the day's biggest political news stories and events happening across Nigeria, of course, as we continue our post-election reactions, trailing the just concluded 2023 polls conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, into the Presidential, National Assembly, gubernatorial and State Assembly seats across the country. Well, the aftermath of the governorship and State Assembly polls on March 18, 2023, it's still dominating heated discussions across the country as INEC has continued, of course, its announcement through its respective state coalition officers across the 28 states, where elections were held on Saturday, determining who has gotten what in the aftermath of Saturday's exercise. We'll also look and get reactions from several bodies who had also monitored the exercise. We'll do that, of course, when we bring you up to speed with the day's fresh political news stories and updates. But just to remind you, later on, the more pressing stories we'd look at would be reviewing the EU's damning verdicts on INEC's conduct of the 2023 general elections, where they have noted that the expectations of Nigerians were defeated owing to INEC's inability to deliver on the promise to provide free, fair and a credible polls. Plus, here in Akwa Ibom State, we do have a governor-elect in the person of Pastor Umoina. But what does his administration, the likely administration, portend for the people of Akwa Ibom State going forward? These and more issues will come up later on. We'll be joined by Citizen Matthew Kofi, founder, Open Forum. We'll be live here on Political Spectrum to bear his thoughts on this issue. But let's kick start with some updates making the rounds across the country. And we begin in Zamfara, where the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, has won the governorship election in Zamfara State and are poised to take the government house from the All Progressives Congress, APC. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in the early hours of today, declared Dauda Lawal of the PDP as winner of the poll. He scored a total of 377,726 votes, beating the APC candidate and the incumbent governor Bello Matawalle, who scored 311,976 votes. Now, recall that the PDP yesterday had vowed to resist a lurched attempt by Governor Matawalle to obtain the results in his favor, following indications that he was trailing the PDP after results from most of the units were already uploaded. Now, INEC has declared the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Benue State, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, as the winner of the March 18 poll and governor-elect. The Catholic priest polled 473,933 votes ahead of his closest rival, and the PDP candidate Titus Uba, who scored 223,913 votes. The returning officer, Professor Farouk Kuta, who is the Vice-Chancellor of the Federal University of Technology in Minna, declared Aliyah the winner. He is expected to take over from Governor Samuel Atom come May 29. From Benue, we go to Borno State, where Governor Babagana Mongono Zulum of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has won re-election following Saturday's gubernatorial election. The returning officer for the governorship election in Borno, Professor Jude Rabo, while announcing the result, said Zulum polled 545,543 votes ahead of his rival, the PDP's Mohammed Jagari, who scored 82,147 votes. Now, Zulum won in all the 27 local government areas of the state, polling 80,940 votes in the Maiduguri Metropolitan Council, which is the highest number of votes in the elections in Borno. Now, the result also shows that the Labour Party scored 1,517 votes to place third. But the March 18 governorship poll was the sixth attempt by the PDP at clinching the Borno State governor's seat, but without a success. And a lot of persons would accrue this to the fact that Governor Zulum has actually performed in Borno State to the extent of nipping in the bud the crisis that bedeviled Borno and the northeastern part of the country owing to Boko Haram insurgency. Let's go now to Rivers State, where the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate, Simi Nalayi Fubara, has been declared the winner of the Rivers State governorship election. INEC declared Fubara the winner of the poll last night. The PDP's flag bearer, according to INEC's collated results, won in the 23 local government areas of the state. Returning officer Professor Akpofure Rimruke said the PDP candidate polled 302,614 votes to defeat his closest rival, Tonya Cole of the All Progressives Congress APC, who scored 95,274 votes. Now, the Social Democratic Party candidate, Senator Magnus Abe, and the Labour Party's Beatrice Utubo came a distant third and fourth, with 46,981 votes and 22,224 votes, respectively. Roque said a total of 496,582 were accredited for the election out of the 3.5 million registered voters in the state. A massive drop indeed, and gives credence to the arguments that voter apathy dominated the discussion in the March 18 governorship election. Well, elsewhere, the governorship candidate of the PDP in Delta State, Sheriff Oborevori, has been declared the winner of the Saturday's governorship election in Delta. Oborevori polled 360,234 votes to beat his closest rival of the APC, Senator Ovi Omoagege, who is the Deputy Senate President. He scored 240,229 votes. The Labour Party candidate, Ken Pella, polled 48,047 votes to come in third. INEC's returning officer for Delta State, Professor George Will Owuneri Abraham, announced the results at the INEC headquarters in Asaba. In a swift reaction, however, the APC state agent, Prince Efe Duku, has rejected the results and called for its outright cancellation, alleging electoral fraud. He also gave a hint of challenging the election outcome at the tribunal, even as he charged his supporters to remain calm. Well, it might interest you to know that of the 28 states who participated in the March 18 governorship election, 11 serving governors sought re-election, while 17 outgoing governors are in the final weeks of their constitutional two-term limit of 8 years, having been sworn in on May 29, 2015. Now, more on the gubernatorial election result as they trickle in. This time we head to Bauchi, where the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has declared Governor Bala Abdulkadir Mohammed as the winner of the March 18, 2023 governorship election. INEC returning officer for Bauchi, Professor Abdulaziz Sabo Mohammed, who's the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Dutse, yesterday announced that the People's Democratic Party candidate had polled votes amounting to 525,280 to win the keenly contested election. Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, retired of the All Progressives Congress, scored 432,272 votes to trail behind in second position, while the New Nigeria People's Party NNPP candidate Senator Haliru Jika polled 60,496 votes to emerge a distant third. Now, the incumbent governor recorded a massive victory in 15 out of the 20 local government areas of the state. Well, following up on some impressive outings for the PDP as well in the governorship elections, the gubernatorial candidate of the PDP, Kefas Agbu, has emerged winner of the governorship election in Taraba State. He defeated Sani Yahaya of the NNPP and Senator Emmanuel Bwacha of the APC in the election results that were declared. Now, out of the 16 local government areas of the state, Kefas won 11, while the NNPP and the APC won 3 and 2, respectively. Well, similarly, in another big win for the PDP, INEC has declared the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Caleb Mufwang, as the winner of the governorship election in Plateau State. Mufwang pulled 525,299 votes to beat his closest rival of the ruling APC, Dr. Nentawe Yotwada, who scored 481,370 votes. But that means the PDP won with about 43,929 vote margin. Well, staying with election matters, the European Union has knocked the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for failing to live up to expectations in the electoral process of Nigeria. Chief Observer of the EU Election Observation Mission, Barry Andrews, in his preliminary statement of the EU-EOM on the governorship and Houses of Assembly elections over the weekend, said Nigerians had hungered for democracy and were ready to be involved in the country's democratic process, but the appetite was lost due to failures by the political elite and INEC. Well, Andrews further said throughout the mission, the EU observed that Nigerians were keen to engage in various civic activities. However, in many parts of the country, their expectations were not met. Now, the disappointment, he noted, contributed to a massive voter apathy that they witnessed, which he said was part of a clear consequence of failures by political elite and unfortunately also by INEC. But Andrews stated that the 18th March elections did not face the same problems with the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system as of February 25. He, however, added that despite these tremendous improvements, polling on election day was disrupted by multiple incidents of thuggery and intimidation of voters, polling officials, observers, as well as journalists. Now we wrap up with the news that the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has accused the president-elect Bola Tinubu of launching an assault on Igbos and non-Yorubas in Lagos State. Atiku said the event in Lagos during the governorship election has proven that Tinubu will rule Nigeria like the late German dictator Adolf Hitler. Well, the former vice president disclosed this in a statement by his spokesman Frank Shaibu. He accused Tinubu of unleashing his thugs against the electorate during elections in Lagos. Well, the statement said Tinubu's dictatorship would make Nigeria wish for a return to the era of the late military head of state Sani Abacha. Now, prior to Saturday's governorship elections, Igbos were attacked in Lagos, with markets majorly populated by the Igbos attacked and burnt down before the governorship election. During the polls, some thugs believed to be loyal to the All Progressives Congress APC had gone out warning Igbos against coming out to vote. Now, the attacks followed the victory of the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi in Lagos State. Well, we know Lagos was one of the hotly debated spots as far as the general elections were concerned, following up from the February 25 exercise where the Labour Party clinched the result in Lagos State, but not enough to deter Bola Ahmed Tinubu from winning the entirety of the polls, according to results that were announced by INEC. But the follow-up on the gubernatorial elections was an eyesore to observers and even the neutrals who had witnessed the exercise, where it appears a section of Lagosians, residents or citizens alike, were prevented from coming out to vote, sparking sentiment that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration or that the Yorubas as well have been largely fingered in promoting ethnic divisionism in the country. How true this claims are is left to be seen, but when you have strong words coming from the likes of Atiku Abubakar claiming Bola Tinubu, president-elect, is acting or behaving like the late German dictator, the late Adolf Hitler, leaves much to be desired. But it's a matter we'll touch on slightly as well as we progress. But do also stay with us. When we come back from this break, it's burning issues and post-election reactions continue, trailing the March 18 governorship elections in Akwa Ibom and by extension the rest of the country. Citizen Matthew Kofi O'Connor, MKO, will join me when we come back from this break that beckons. Political Spectrum will return.
Has been completed here at INEC headquarters Udodoma in Akwa Ibom State. The Independent National Electoral Commission has announced that the total number of registered voters to be 2357418 and the total accredited voters is 657959. The INEC Commission has announced the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Pastor Umoino, the winner of the 2023 general election with a total vote of 354348, followed by the YPP, the Young Progressive Party, with a total vote of 136263 in person of Senator Basi Halbert. Then we also have the APC candidate, which is the All Progressive Congress, with a total of 129602 votes. We also have the NNPC and other parties to follow. Thank you for today's collation of results. We will bring you more updates on the electoral updates and commissioning of, we will bring updates of election reaction. My name is Esther Otoyo. I remain your presenter here at Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Enjoy the rest of our programs on Spectrum Television and follow us on all our social media handles at YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Political Spectrum live on Spectrum Television. As always, you can connect with us on Start Times DTH Channel 421. And for live feeds, simply head to our Facebook page and also join us on our YouTube channel where you can subscribe for the live feeds and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Feel free to leave us a message. We'd love to read from you as well. Since it's the aftermath of the general elections, we'll only entertain a few reactions as much as we can towards the tail end of the program. To welcome back and thanks for staying with us. As promised, we're now being joined live in our studios by citizen Matthew Kofi O'Connor, better known as MKO, is the founder, Open Forum. Of course, you have followed us throughout the course of our coverage of the elections. He was here with us to provide expert analysis on the beat-by-beat incidents that we recorded in the course of the governorship and state assembly polls here in Akwa Ibom State. He joins us again on Political Spectrum. A very good morning to you, Citizen Kofi, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Good to be here once again.
Thank you very much as well. We now have a governor elect here in Akwa Ibom State. We'd like to start from home, of course, with Pastor Moina of the People's Democratic Party declared governor-elect by INEC following Saturday's exercise. Before we talk about the governor-elect, how satisfied were you with what we saw on Saturday?
Well, first of all, we must have that consciousness that in every contest somebody is to emerge as a winner, be it the process is right or wrong, and given antecedents, particularly when you have a dashed hope. February 25th was a dashed hope on Nigerians, and people who felt they may be in trouble, not being able to manipulate their ways, got inspired after what happened, and one thing has led to another. But be that as it may, a candidate, a winner has been announced by the electoral body. And if you are very conscious about how politics works in Nigeria, you can be sure that after a very troublesome primaries where people emerge, in fact, some parties have gone to the elections without being sure who the candidate is in some cases and all of that. You need to go and face the electorate. Sometimes the electorate don't even have access to vote, and few politicians will manipulate the system because what matters to them is like what Mahmoud Yakubu said, that despite all the complaints, despite some very glaring irregularities and lack of adherence to the process, as was enshrined in the Electoral Act, it says go to court. So after the electorates, or after the announcement of results, the next batch of another round of electioneering, judicial electioneering,
right,
is people going to court. And we expect that. And in the history of Nigeria, there's never an election where we do not have some outcomes upturned, be it at the House of Assembly, reps, Senate, governorship. We've had that. And one of the most elaborate cases has happened even in the West. Remember when during Obasanjo era, one thing led to another, and the West, that has always been traditionally opposition, became a member of the ruling party in the PDP. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has been providing leadership in that part of the country, went to court, and they were able to recover some of the state. But for us in Akwa Ibom State, like you rightly said, I was here on election duties on the 18th, and some of the news, what I saw online and what we even discussed before we even came on air with the team, was that people were killed even before election started. And I thought it was fake news until the single Senator Basi Abed came on air and said the people were killed and their bodies taken away. And he has made a press release. A press statement has been made officially by the YPP that they are not satisfied with the process, with killings here and there, enumerated, even naming a security personnel, which they have linked him up to a particular duty post, and they are going to take up the matter. I was seeing that of Udoy Dege. I was just looking at it briefly before I came in. Yeah. He has also raised issues about the outcome. I've not seen that of the APC yet. Those are the front runners. The Labour Party has a peculiar case because we had the obedient movement, which is not a party thing. Obedient movement cut across all of the parties, PDP, APC, YPP. We had obedience in every party who did not even care who is the state chairman of Labour or who is what. And that influenced the outcome of the presidential election. But now Umweno has been declared. So anybody, any party that has issues, they have not taken laws into their hands. So they have to go to court and then prove their case. But I must say something here. There is a difference between partisan politics, where parties present candidates to contest elections. Everybody cannot be in one party. Wherever you find a one-party system, or even erroneously our people call PDP, that it's a religion in this part of the world, that is blasphemy by itself. But because some people like creativity to use terms that can show how strong they are. How come you are worshipping a party? How come you are worshipping what is not God? How come you are worshipping something that if God is to judge you based on what you have even used that platform to do, you'll be found guilty? So I want to use this medium to appeal to them. Look for some other term to use. Don't say PDP is a religion.
Okay.
Yes. Don't say that. It is blasphemy. Yes. and some people that have been victims of the leadership of the party over time, not because they are guilty, but because some persons who have found themselves in position of authorities don't care about the people. They just care about themselves, self-preservation, sometimes lack of interest, complete disconnect with people. But we are still members of the party. Those that are conscious, you need to contribute their quota to it. Now that a candidate has been announced, and if eventually after the court processes, that candidate, the winner becomes the governor, that terminates the era of partisan politics where we were struggling to gain to office. And governance begins. When it comes to governance, everybody matters. Everybody. Those that had opposed you, who will be willing to contribute to the development of the state, must be received. Those that did not even vote, who may become louder than they did not have any contribution. In fact, how many people voted in these elections? Put everything together. Are they up to 800,000? And we are close to 7 to 9 million in Akwa Ibom State. Very few persons, about a little over 350,000 people voted for Umoino, or said to have voted for Umoino, because we cannot deny the fact that some persons were disenfranchised.
Yes, of course. Those are perhaps issues we'd like to touch on later on. But let's stick to the incidents we witnessed or saw during the coalition and eventual announcement on Sunday. Let's dwell with some discrepancies that we observed, with the announcement of Pastor Umoino as governor-elect. With special focus on two of the opposing parties who took part in that election, the APC and the Labour Party. Let's start with the APC. When the state coalition and returning officer was announcing the result, he somewhat skipped or stopped short of mentioning the name of the APC candidate on the ballot. And he was taking it in serial numbers from 1 to the 18 parties that were listed to be on the election. But when he got to number 6, which was that of the APC, he did not give a name of the candidate as he did with virtually every other party. But he mentioned the party, the APC, and the number of votes that they polled, as much as 126,000 plus. This is coming in the light of the Supreme Court's judgment that affirmed the candidacy of Obonwakanimo Dofia in the views of the APC in Akwa Ibom State, that is the authentic candidate for the party going into that election. But we know the main plaintiff in that case, Senator Itainang, came out to say that the Supreme Court did not authenticate Akano Dofia's candidacy, but merely affirmed his membership of the APC. So his final submission was that the APC did not have a candidate going into the election. But we know a lot of persons dismissed Senator Itainang's press release and called it a mere negative rhetoric, trying to, put confusion in the APC and maybe get back at them for suspending him or expelling him from the party. But it appears INEC's position on Sunday has more or less confirmed Senator Itainang's position that the APC did not have a candidate in that election. I mean, what kind of politics are we playing, for crying out loud?
I'm also of the opinion that when something happens, thinkers should be put together. People should be consulted, not on the basis of partisan interest. There are some of us that we are living for humanity. You see, right from when the APC in the state started having problems, some of us cried out that APC is supposed to be the major opposition parties. Take, for instance, a number of local government elections, they are boycotted in the state. And when you look back at the kind of appointments that the present administration of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari had given to Akwa Ibom State members of the APC, it seemed to me that they had forgotten that they are in the opposition in Akwa Ibom State, for God's sake. Is it because they have given you people so much appointment, you are now living in luxury, you don't care about building a party to take power? They went into that election on the platform of crisis. The matters went in court. Fast forward to this last judgment by the Supreme Court. I personally looked at what came out to the public domain as a judgment. I'm not a legal person, but I ask questions. I am also a deep thinker. How can Supreme Court give a judgment that it takes 20 lawyers to give 20 different interpretations? And what were the interpretations? What were the core issues? Okay, now at the High Court had given a judgment that Obong Akanodofia wasn't a member of the APC, and so he was not validly a member to have stood nomination. Secondly, that the nomination that was said to have been conducted is cancelled, and a new one should be conducted within 7 days. And what happened? There was an appeal. By this time, the party, both at the national and at the state level, had concluded that Obong Udofia was their candidate. Yes, people will say it's the party that determines who they want to fill in an election. Yes, but there are rules to it. Obong Udofia, Obong appealed to the appeal court. What did the appeal court say? Appeal court said that the High Court had no jurisdiction to have entertained the matter in the first place, which makes whatever judgment they give invalid. Itana now went to the Supreme Court. One good thing was that the speed at which this case was being treated was quite interesting, and it even also helped them couple with the a little shift in the election timetable, and they were able to have advantage of saying, oh, we even have a little time when the judgment was finally given at the Supreme Court. What I read and what I understand by the Supreme Court judgment was that the High Court had jurisdiction to entertain the matter, which by this time makes their order, all the orders they gave, to be valid. Very striking. The second,
I know you've said you're not a legal practitioner, but entertaining a case, yes, and your position on that case, would you say, could you marry them to be the same thing?
I'm coming. The second aspect of the order was that it is not the position of the court to determine who a member of the party is. That's a party issue, which validates Obong Udofia's membership. A consequential order directing that Obong Udofia was the candidate was not explicitly put down. Clearly, with the directive that his name should be forwarded to INEC, that gave that lacuna, that several people gave several interpretations. And trust politicians, normally, whatever you think it's a gray area that you can take advantage, you take advantage. And it was only proper for Kanudofia to say, I am the candidate. And since the party was backing him, anybody will have just gone ahead. You understand? But for Tenang, who's been a lawyer for about 40 years now, at least according to him, about 40 years at the bar, he said, this is this judgment too. APC does not have a candidate. But why should people get up to the Supreme Court and cannot get justice? Justice as in very clear terms. Where else do you go to? I even understand that, I hope I'm not wrong, that I think Obong Kanodofia went to another court, I think a High Court, which directed that his name be forwarded. I hope it's not fake news, because it was online. So if that happened and his name was forwarded to INEC, INEC is always a nominal party in cases. They just wait whatever be the directive. It's only until now that INEC goes to court to challenge even parties for what parties want them to do. INEC doesn't do that. Because
so who would you fault in this case? The Supreme Court for a lack of clarity in explaining the true state of that judgment, because it looks like they handed down two different rulings. First, by claiming that the High Court, yes, has the jurisdiction to entertain the case, and secondly, affirming Akanudofia's candidacy, membership of the APC, based on the waiver that he was granted by the party.
Yes.
But not mandating INEC to, upload his name on their portal as the candidate of the party. So would you say it's the Supreme Court's fault, or maybe it's INEC who did not seek for clarification and allowed that space to be there going into the polls?
That is...
we have a voter and information education committee in INEC at the national level and the respective state levels. None of them came out to give clarity on this in the lead up to the polls.
People don't take responsibilities, and that's one problem we have in Nigeria, one problem we have in Akwa Ibom State. There are people in offices who are just there not because they want to deliver, but because they have found a meal ticket which they must preserve by all means. I'll give you an instance. The returning officer that read that result is supposed to have been briefed and given the legal status of the candidate of all the parties. And so we will not want to say he has done that by accident. But go back a little bit. After the judgment and the controversies, we saw something online, and which was said to be the edition number 6 of the status of people cleared to contest election. One of those contained the name of Akanodofia, except it was fake news. Now, if INEC in Akwa Ibom State, or even at the national, who should be monitoring whatever is said about them, saw such a publication that there is an updated version on the legally cleared candidate, and they didn't say anything, and then the returning officer could read the result and carefully, intentionally avoided mentioning the name of the validly nominated candidate if Akanodofia was by law, or if that their publication is anything to go by. We are likely to see another round of litigation which somebody will claim that he was technically excluded from the election. That's why people did not vote for him. His supporters were not sure. That is outside the fake news that some newspapers carried, that he has stepped down for the YPP candidate. Some said YPP candidate stepped down for him, and that is neither here nor there, because one, like I said, I think it was still on this very platform, that we shouldn't even be worrying too much about fake news. What Nigerians at Akwa Ibom should be worried about are fake promises, because all these fake news merchants, what did they do? Some of them just do it for maybe 5,000 naira. Some they just data of 1,000 and they just put something on. Whereas some other person controls budget of billions, sometimes trillions, but dishes out fake promises almost 70 to 90%. So we are in a crisis situation, and until we demand accountability from both people manning our institutions and people that are in governance, we are retrogressing as a people. So that very announcement of result, I'm sure the APC and the Akanodofia campaign committee should be very interested, and distinguished Senator Itainan, who is a legal practitioner, who has been vilified for holding the position that he holds, will say, I've been vindicated. So we may likely have to see more litigations coming out, not because of vote rigging, vote buying, killings during the elections in Akwa Ibom State, but because INEC did not do the needful. If you knew there was a controversy in Akwa Ibom State, and there was a judgment from the Supreme Court that became controversial, it was the place of INEC to make a categorical statement that we have not received directive or the publications ongoing about the 5th or the 6th edition of their release on updated release on who are the candidates did not emanate from them. They didn't do that. So well, they have explanations to make.
I'll perhaps love us to wrap up on that line of conversation by, talking about Itainang's validation, as you've put it, which seems to me to be hanging on a thread, because he eventually turned up to vote. on Saturday, even in the face of a court judgment that he has clearly said, you know, is not the position of what the APC or the picture the APC is trying to paint to Akwabamai. But we saw him at East Polling Unit coming out to cast his votes, and we even have evidences that he truncated the process in some areas by, you know, cutting away ballot boxes with some of his supporters. We'll perhaps bring those pictures up if we can. So if he knew the position of things and he came out to say it, regardless whether people believed him or not, going out to cast your vote, even when you said the APC has no candidate in this election, seems like he was contradicting himself, or even worse, shooting himself in the foot.
No, he wasn't contradicting himself. First thing is that you have to know is that voting is a civic responsibility. It is a human right. So he needed to exercise that. Very important. Another very important thing you must note is that if, there were no pictures of candidates like it was in 2007. We used to add pictures of candidates. Right. And since there was no picture of candidates, and Itaina himself had said that APC, the campaign committee in the state, should not be called a Akanodofia campaign committee, but it should be APC campaign committee, because APC is on the ballot. So he was doing that to validate that APC is on the ballot. Because for you to be qualified to be voted for, you must vote. Every candidate in an election must be a valid voter. And by necessity, should also vote for himself. So what he was doing, he was trying to protect the status of the party, and is possible being a candidate who, if APC had won, you will have seen Itaina do a press conference immediately and thank the people of Akwa Ibom State for giving him the mandate, because the crisis in the party was going to be sorted out and the candidate will be a beneficiary. So there's nothing wrong about that. What is wrong about that is if, like you've said, there are evidences that he was part of those that helped to hijack materials. That's another story completely. But for you to have anything to be part of the electoral process, particularly saying you are a candidate, you must vote. And that is what he did, and there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, if you're just joining us, it's Political Spectrum, live on Spectrum Television. We're going to go for a very short break. When we come back, the conversation does continue, and more on the discrepancies witnessed during the collation and announcement of the governorship result here in Akwa Ibom State. Aside the issues with the APC, it turns out the Labour Party's gubernatorial candidate in the lead up to that election had actually pulled out from the race, unknowing to most of his supporters. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Just stay with us.
I, Professor Emmanuel M. Adigio, hereby certify that I am the returning officer for the 2023 Akwa Ibom State governorship election held on the 18th day of March 2023. The election was contested. The candidates received the following votes. Number 1, Kofi Emem Samuel, male, Party A. Total votes received 437. Number 2, Ikanem Abasie Keme Inong Bong, female, Party AA, 181 votes. Number 3, Otu Iboro Robert. Masculine, male, political party AAC, 393. Enyan Edcock Ezekiel, male, party APC, 1,685 votes. Number 5, Asian Ekere Sunday, male, ADP, 642 votes. Number 6, no name, APC, 129,602 votes. Ekpo Eta Basi, number 7, male, APGA, 311 votes. Number 8, Ekong Eyo, male, APM, 381 votes. Mbamba Ephraim Okon, male, APP, 123 votes. Ekpenyong Akaniyene Efyong, male, BP, 141 votes. Okon Uko Hussein, male, LP, 4,746 votes. Number 12, Akpano Don Edenye John James, male, NNPP, 12,509 votes. Ethan Kubeat Basi, male, NRM, 861 votes. Eno Kumo Basi, male, PDP, 356,348 votes. Ikandem Sunday Francis, male, PRP, 288 votes. Udo Imam Monday, female, SDP, 442 votes. Akpan Albert Basi, male, YPP, 136,262 votes. Thomas Isikat Ogan, male, ZLP, 728 votes. That Eno Umo Basi of PDP, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Signed, returning officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Kelvin Obomo is the name. I am of the YPP, state agent.
You heard the results of yesterday's election as conducted by INEC in Oyo State. The candidate was declared. Okay, there's no loser, there's no party. What do you make of the victory?
No, say what is in your mouth. Be free.
What do you make of the victory of the PDP candidate?
Well, the victory, will you say victory? And I will say no, reason being that all of our predictions and all of our cry to INEC, they've all seen the light of the day. And how will you expect me to endorse or append my signature to elections that the blood of the innocent Akwa might be shed on the cause of exercising their civil rights, and where people will refuse to go in and vote, and then you call that victory? There's no victory there. To me, if you ask me, I want to be very realistic with you, it's an outright abuse to democracy. It's a complete negation to what democracy stands for. And so therefore, as the Young Progressive Party, We'll seek to redress it in the law court and then reclaim our mandate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Political Spectrum live on Spectrum Television. Still playing host to Citizen Matthew Kofi O'Connor, founder, Open Forum. We're addressing post-election concerns with respect to the 2023 general elections in Nigeria following the February 25 presidential National Assembly polls and the March 18 governorship and state assembly elections concluded over the weekend, where results have been pouring in large numbers. Just like yesterday, we had INEC inundating us with results from other states that were not thoroughly collated from Saturday and Sunday. That includes the declaration of the winners of the Zamfara, Benue, Delta, Taraba. We also had Rivers State as well, where the winners were all announced. In Benue State, we had Reverend Father Yacinta Leah of the APC winning. So we do have a cleric in the government house, but this time in Benue State. Governor Mungono Zulum of Borno State won a re-election bid in Zamfara. Governor Matawale Bello was defeated and won't be going back for a second term. In Delta State, it was the PDP winning, which means Deputy Senate President Oviamu Agege lost out in his election bid. In Taraba, it was the PDP also winning, likewise in Plateau State. So a good outing for the ruling APC and the PDP across the 28 states where we had governorship elections take place, including Akwa Ibom State, where on Sunday, INEC declared Pastor Moina of the PDP as governor-elect in Akwa Ibom State. We just saw that formal announcement and also noticed those disparity with the announcement of the results. We've talked much about the APC, but there was also another apparent disparity in the views of some voters with respect to the Labour Party's gubernatorial candidates. Before now, we'd seen Peter Uduabong Udo campaigning vigorously for the governorship position in the state. But from that announcement, it wasn't his name that was mentioned. And perhaps it will give credence to the arguments of those who suspected that perhaps he had turned over his structure to another party. But just before we came on the air, you tried to make a point about revisiting old ghosts. Maybe the litigation he faced in authenticating his candidacy of the Labour Party may have read their heads in the lead up to the case. But again, it dwells back on the argument of INEC's role through its Voter and Information Education Committee inundating Labour Party supporters about a change that was very, very critical. How come we didn't even know about this?
It still puts the blame on the electoral body. Let me take you back memory lane. In 2007, I was the Deputy State Chairman of Action Congress. That's the party that metamorphosed to being ACN and now today APC. I happen to be the pioneer Deputy State Chairman of that party. And we had a candidate, a governorship candidate, and the person of Mr. James Inyema.
Oh.
And I moderated all the campaigns across the state, even the presidential campaign. I moderated it. I was very, very much on ground over that matter. And when, after the elections, we went to, go to INEC to assess documents for us to get to court. That will form part of my book when I'm writing my memoirs. But one thing was clear. INEC published the names of candidates of all the parties contesting election, I think in about 3 national newspapers. that should be a standard. That before going into the election, the names of cleared candidates should be published for the world to know. What happened in the case of the Action Congress candidates? His name was omitted in all of the publications, and my candidate wrote to INEC. I submitted all my documents, and you acknowledge receipt. Why have you not published my name? I remember what they told me, that they told him in the office. They said it must have been virus. And he told them, one of you must be the virus. We went to the election. They used to have pictures of candidates on the ballot paper. His picture was omitted. So when we went to the tribunal did their whatever, and then we moved to the appeal court, and appeal court was quite interesting. It's a story for another day. Clearly a story for another day. We pleaded what we called technical exclusion, and we proved it with certified copies from the right quarters and presented in court. But that judgment didn't go away. So, we are in 2023. INEC, despite all the preparations, despite the advancement we thought we have brought in through the electoral law and through the level of mediums that are available to make information available to citizens, INEC did not exploit that adequately. What stops INEC to have published names? Like I said earlier, what they call updated number 6, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, up to number 6, or whatever number, I don't know. What stopped them from publishing the names of the governorship candidates and all other candidates in newspapers as well? Or if they have done that, I've not seen it. If APC had seen that the name of their candidate was not published, you can't go into an election you have been completely, put aside technically. That of the Labour Party is also very interesting. We know that it had cases. It wasn't really popular on the street that, oh, there's a serious case going on. We even thought they may not even have a candidate until somebody emerged and said, oh, he's been cleared to contest. And he was doing quite a very innovative campaign. Right. Putting buses in the major routes in New York. And almost for 1 week, people were entering buses free. And I remember the commercial transporter said, this man has taken business from us. These large buses pack people like no man's. You just be driving your keke without having passengers to pick, because the Labour Party man, with his banner on the luxurious buses, was everywhere, at least for some number of days. That was also good because of the poverty that the Akwa Ibom has been put through, worsened by the cash crisis. So, between Labour Party and the All Progressive Congress, which I have heard, I never heard that before now, that no name was mentioned as in other cases. It is an indictment on INEC, not even on the court again. INEC should have made that information available. That of the Labour Party, the name mentioned, which I'm not quite clear about that, is still for Labour Party. Not because he withdrew. Understand? So it won't be, oh, he handed over structure or he interchanged with some other person. That is not possible. What it is likely is that somebody must have gotten God's injunction, which INEC honored and which the public did not know. And as we speak, I didn't even know the name of the person.
Well, juxtaposing between the two cases, that of the APC and the Labour Party, yes, both of them did not, get some kind of directive or clarification from INEC as to the true position of their respective candidates going into the elections. But in the case of the APC, there seemed to have been an insistence that Akanudofia is the candidate of the party, and so they went out with him in full swing, campaigning right up until the deadline on Thursday. But the Labour Party did not take that same position. Yes, if INEC hasn't come out to give us the clarification, I mean, it should have been the role of the party to tell us, this is the state of things. We do not have Peter Oduabon on the ballot again. We have someone else. They failed to do that as well.
Well, we can't say yet until we hear from Oduabon what actually happened. Like we've said, some persons thought they could ride on the back of the obedient movement. This 2023 election was supposed to be about people, not parties. Those that believe that it is party or nothing are the enemies of this country, because it is not about me. It is about the future of my children. It's about the future of humanity as far as Nigeria is concerned. So if anybody had issues and you could not clarify it, it also shows that you lack the capacity. Anybody that has risen to the point of saying, I want to be a counselor, should be somebody that should be able to speak, not just for himself, but for the people. And not just speaking for yourself, you are speaking for the people. Because those you have, in quote, misled by showing them that you have something to offer when you are empty, will be their lives, everything about them will be in jeopardy if you are not able to show leadership. Now it becomes a double wahala, like a fellow will say, double wahala for dead body, when the electoral body lacks the competence, lacks the understanding to address issues that may end them in court. I tell you, if Akan Udofia and the APC does not go to court to challenge the exclusion of their validly nominated candidate, to which INEC did not make any statement when they saw Akan Udofia going across the state to campaign. If they go to court now, it's going to be between them and INEC. I don't know the number of cases. I'm not a legal person, like I've said. Maybe they will have to go to tribunal. Is it a tribunal case or is it a high court case? But whatever be the case, like in my experience that I told you, we went to the tribunal and were able to prove this case. And when INEC in court, at Appeal Court Calabar, challenged our lawyer then, I think that was, I think it wasn't Andaka first, I think Mahmoud, he said, your candidate said that, INEC said your candidate did not submit his details. That is why we could not publish his name, we could not have his picture in the ballot paper like others. And anyway, I can't forget this. In Lagos State, he mentioned River State, that the man there, his picture was not on the ballot, he's a governor, he's not complaining. The judge said, don't bring, was it Bayelsa? Don't bring it here because that's a judicial decision. He now went and cited case of Agbaje, that Agbaje was not captured and he went to court and he lost. And then the judge asked our lawyer, where is the evidence that you submitted what INEC required? And we referred him to our document and we showed this is it. We got the attestation after James Inyama had, told them, give me, what do you call it now? Give me confirmation that you received my document after the failed publication. They gave him written confirmation that they have received all your documents, including passport. We tendered it in court. But that did not give us justice. But my joy is that when I left the court that day, all I did was that I lifted up my hands and I looked up. I said, Father, I never had anything against the person that was declared winner, which was Gospel Akpabio. Nothing. I was just doing my part. But what I have seen is not justice, but judgment. All I'm praying, oh God, is give me peace. I don't want to, believe that I cannot get justice, so I must do things by myself. And I tell you, I had that peace till today. So what is happening? They should better get good legal team. Either you pass through the tribunal to show that the outcome of the election, you were technically excluded. Same thing with labor. If the man in labor has what it takes or believes that it does not, what happened was an infringement on his fundamental right, and a technical exclusion and a confusion that was masterminded by some persons, he has the right to approach the court.
Okay.
Yes.
So, because we're wrapping up in a couple of minutes, let's talk now quickly about the role of the observers. And it's good that you took us down memory lane to bring up most of those incidences. So we do a comparison with what is happening in present-day Nigeria. We had over 38,000 observers, both local and international, monitor 150,000, beg your pardon, who monitor this exercise. Here in Akwa Ibom State, over 38,000 of them. But the EU, who were one of the observing teams through the EU OM, the European Union Observation Mission, gave a very damning verdict, on INEC's performance about this election. And one of the things they said, which really I took very serious, was that Nigerians were interested in taking part in the democratic process, but their hopes were dashed because of INEC's performance. When you give a verdict as damning as this, on the back of INEC's insistence that the elections were free and fair and only a few glitches were experienced, not enough to call for a cancellation of the entire process. What does this make of our standing in the international community and elections going forward? I'd like us to wrap up there.
Yeah, I must commend the EU monitoring team, just like Yaga Africa and others. I've seen one of the team's presentations. What the person said was that what they came was not what they came for election observation, but what has turned out is that they came to observe crime. EU has been a wonderful partner in helping the democratic culture in Nigeria, and they have been very careful about statements that they make and the recommendations that I've made over the years. I guess I have some copies of the recommendations that they made over time. I tell you, INEC and even the federal government hardly even look at those documents. But fast forward to 2023. What has just happened? The statement by EU, remember they have a code of conduct. There are things that they cannot say. Yes, they can't interfere in the electoral process. But you must be able to just make a simple statement on what you have observed. What they have said is, putting it mildly, I expect Nigerian observers who will not be said to be, they are foreign, they are being sponsored by foreign powers to come and undermine the democracy and the country. Nigerian observers should hold their press conference and say it as it is. Make immediate recommendations. There are some persons that are not fit to be in whatever position they are currently holding. And they cannot believe that the whole country and the whole world has been charmed by void. Because what the mentality here is, anyhow, get to power. I remember growing up as a child, there was a wrestling group, I think it was called the Mongols or whatever. And their slogan was, condition, condition, condition. If you can't win honestly, cheat. Wrestlers. Okay. And so they use every means to make sure that they win. It's not every time they want to, but they tell you that was their mindset. So that has become the mindset of supposed leaders who have become terrible role models. My concern is our young ones. My concern is the future of this country. Our role models cannot be called role models indeed, because they are a very bad women, very bad pointers, that if you don't do something fast, Nigeria will start asking the question, how did we get here? We are getting to where we are getting to with our eyes wide open, and I commend the EU. They have done the best they can, and may God bless them. Those that want to lie, turn truth to lies, they will stand in judgment someday.
Interesting thoughts in this. A conversation we'll likely revisit should time permit us some at a time. But thank you so very much, Citizen Matthew, for joining me on Political Spectrum today.
Thank you.
Thanks to you out there for joining us as well. But that's the size of the program today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Keep a date with us if you can. Coming up shortly, Blood and Ken will be here with Business 360. Enjoy the rest of the day's broadcast. From me, Raymond Ita, and the rest of the crew, thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.